Growing up, I always felt like the backdrop in a two-person play, starring my sister, Lily, as the cherished lead. Our parents never tried to hide their preference for her. It was like living in a house where I was the guest, and Lily was the princess. From as early as I can remember, Lily got everything, the best dresses, the new toys, and most importantly, their attention. I got hand-me-downs, stuff from bargain bins, and the occasional nod that yes, I existed too. One evening, I was about 10, I remember sitting at the dinner table. Dad was going on about Lily's school project. "Look at this castle Lily made. Isn't it something?" Dad said, his eyes lighting up like Christmas trees as he held up a glitter-covered cardboard castle. Mom nodded, beaming at Lily. "It's beautiful, sweetheart. You're so talented." I had made a volcano that actually erupted, but it was sitting on the other end of the table, unnoticed. "Mine erupts," I muttered, but no one paid attention. Lily, with her bright green eyes sparkling, leaned over and whispered loud enough for only me to hear. "It's just baking soda and vinegar. Not a big deal." I clenched my fists under the table, feeling my face heat up. But I stayed quiet. Arguing with Lily only made things worse, because somehow, I always ended up being the bad guy. Grandma was the only one who saw through it all. She lived with us, thank God, and she was my one ally. One day, after a particularly nasty episode where Lily had blamed me for breaking a vase I hadn't even touched, Grandma pulled me aside. "You know, Anna, your parents might not see everything, but I do. You're just as special, never doubt that," she said, her voice firm and reassuring. "I wish they could see that too," I replied, looking down at my scuffed shoes. Grandma hugged me tightly. "I've told your dad time and again. Children should be loved equally." But it never changed. As we grew up, Lily turned into a master of manipulation. She had our parents wrapped around her finger, and anything she did wrong somehow got pinned on me. One day, I overheard her talking on the phone with a friend. "Anna is such a loser. She thinks Mom and Dad actually care about her. It's hilarious." I stormed into her room, furious. "Why do you have to be like this, Lily? What have I ever done to you?" She just smirked, her red hair like a halo of fire around her wicked grin. "Oh, Anna, don't be such a drama queen. Everyone knows I'm the good one here." I wanted to yell, to scream that she wasn't, that she was lying and cruel. But I knew better. It would just end in tears, mine. Instead, I walked away, my heart pounding, knowing I had to get out of this house as soon as I could. When high school ended, and I got into college, I was ready to leave and never look back. But my parents refused to pay for my tuition. They said it was because I wasn't serious enough about my future. Luckily, Grandma stepped in. She paid my fees, telling me to use this chance to build a life for myself, away from the shadow of my sister. College was like stepping into another world, one where no one knew about Lily or how I was always the second choice in my family. It felt like I could finally breathe, like I was shedding an old skin that never really fit me in the first place. The first person I met on campus was Carla, my roommate. She was from another state and didn't know a thing about me, which was refreshing. Carla had this straightforward way of talking that I wasn't used to back home. "Hey, I'm Carla. You're Anna, right? Let's make this room cool, okay?" she said as soon as I walked into our tiny dorm room, her words direct and devoid of any pretense. "Sure, sounds good to me," I replied, grateful for her easy demeanor. In those first few weeks, Carla showed me around, introducing me to her friends and pulling me into her social circle. I was hesitant at first, unsure how to act when no one expected me to fail or fade into the background. Hanging out with Carla and her friends, I realized they spoke their minds, no filters, no walking on eggshells. It was all straightforward and, honestly, kind of liberating. "Anna, you gotta loosen up. We're all here to have a good time, not judge each other," Carla said one night as we sat in the common room, surrounded by laughter and the smell of microwave popcorn. "I know, I'm just not used to this," I admitted, feeling a bit out of place, but welcome at the same time. Well, get used to it. You're with us now, she said with a wink. As the semester went on, I started joining study groups, attending class regularly, and really throwing myself into my marketing courses. My professors noticed. Miss Grant, your project was impressive. You have a knack for this, Professor Jacobs commented one day after class, handing back a paper I'd written with a high grade on it. Thank you, Professor. I really enjoyed working on it, I said, feeling a pride I hadn't known before. At the end of my first year, I got a summer internship at a local marketing firm. I was over the moon. I called Grandma to tell her the news. That's wonderful, Anna. I knew you could do it. Grandma's voice crackled over the phone, filled with genuine pride. Thanks, Grandma. I couldn't have done it without your help, I replied, feeling a lump in my throat. And you'll do even more. Just watch, she said, her confidence in me unshakable. By the time senior year rolled around, I was a different person. I had confidence, real friends, and a career path that excited me. College gave me the freedom to be who I wanted to be, away from the shadow of my family's expectations and Lily's manipulative antics. After graduation, I landed a job at a well-known cosmetology company in the city. But it wasn't just my career that was about to change, my personal life was on the brink of something entirely new. It all started at a city exhibition where different companies showcased their products. I was in charge of our company's booth, explaining the benefits of our latest skincare line to anyone who showed interest. Looks like you really know your stuff, a voice said from behind me. I turned around to see a tall guy with an easy smile watching me. Thanks. I try, I responded, brushing a loose strand of hair from my face. I'm Michael, he introduced himself, extending his hand. Anna, I replied, shaking his hand. There was an immediate, undeniable spark. We chatted casually at first about the products and the exhibition. But then, the conversation shifted. Michael was funny, throwing jokes left and right, making me laugh more than I had in a long while. And so, half-jokingly, we set up a date for the following weekend. Dinner turned into seeing each other almost every weekend after that. Michael was different. He listened when I talked, really listened. He cared about what I thought and felt, which was a new and wonderful experience for me. The months flew by, filled with little moments and big feelings. Before I knew it, a year had passed, and we were seriously discussing our future together. One night, over a quiet dinner at our favorite little Italian place, Michael looked more serious than usual. He took a deep breath. Anna, how would you feel about making this official? Like, really official? I knew what he meant, but I needed to hear him say it. Are you asking what I think you're asking? I prompted him. Michael nodded, taking my hands in his. Marry me, Anna. Let's start our own story. Tears sprang to my eyes, not from sadness, but from a profound happiness that flooded through me. Yes, Michael, I'll marry you. Getting engaged to Michael was like a dream. I was over the moon, floating through my days with a goofy grin plastered on my face. But when it came to actually planning the wedding, reality hit hard and fast, especially when my family got involved. I remember calling my parents to tell them the news. Their response was lukewarm at best. That's nice, dear, Mom said, her voice strained. But are you sure about this? You know how these things can be rushed. I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my cool. Yes, Mom, I'm sure. Michael is great, and we're really happy together. Well, if you say so, she sighed, and then quickly changed the subject. The trouble really started when I went home to discuss the wedding plans. The air was thick with tension the minute I stepped into the house. Dad was the first to bring up the elephant in the room. You know, Lily should really help with the wedding. She has such good taste, Dad suggested, casting a meaningful glance at Mom. Lily, who'd been surprisingly quiet, suddenly lit up. Oh, absolutely. I'd love to help plan your wedding, Anna. I was suspicious. Lily and helping didn't usually go in the same sentence unless it benefited her directly. but before I could decline, Mom chimed in. It would be such a nice way to bond before the big day. And think about it, Anna, with your work schedule, do you really have the time to manage everything? Against my better judgment, I agreed. I was too busy, and maybe, just maybe, Lily had changed. How wrong I was. Weeks went by, and every time I called Lily to check on the progress, she reassured me with her sweetest voice. Everything's under control, sis. I booked the venue, and wait till you see the decorations I planned. 2 weeks before the wedding, I took a day off to see everything for myself. The venue was booked, all right, but that was about it. No caterer, no decorator, no nothing. It was a disaster waiting to happen. I called Lily, my voice shaking with anger. What the hell, Lily? You said everything was taken care of. Oh, calm down, Anna. You're always so dramatic. It's all going to be fine. She brushed me off. Fine? There's nothing done. Were you planning to ruin my wedding? There was a pause on the other end of the line. Then, in a voice dripping with feigned innocence, she said, I don't know what you're talking about. Everything will be ready, trust me. I hung up, fuming. No way I was going to let her mess this up. I called my friend Janet, who had an impressive experience with event planning. Janet, I'm in a bind. Can you help me salvage my wedding? Of course, Anna. Don't worry, we'll make sure your day is perfect. What's done is done. Let's fix this, Janet responded, her voice a lifeline in the chaos. With Janet's help, we started from scratch. It was a mad dash of booking, tasting, and organizing, but slowly things started coming together. The day before the wedding, I confronted Lily again. This time in person. She just shrugged. Look, I did what I could. If that's not enough for you, then maybe you're expecting too much, Lily said, her voice cool and detached. I expected my sister to have my back. Clearly, I was wrong, I replied, my voice steady, despite the anger boiling inside. Despite all the setbacks, the wedding day arrived, and it was everything I had hoped for and more. The venue looked beautiful, the food was delicious, and the music set the perfect mood. As I danced with Michael, feeling like the luckiest woman in the world, I almost forgot about the chaos Lily had tried to cause. Almost. But as the evening wore on, the inevitable couldn't be avoided. It was time for the speeches, and my heart sank as Lily stepped up to the microphone, her smile a little too sweet. Hello, everyone. Lily's voice was bright, carrying over the crowd. I just want to say how happy I am for Anna and Michael. Being the maid of honor and the wedding planner was such an honor. I could feel the anger bubbling up inside me. The lies were too much. She was taking credit for everything Janet and I had scrambled to fix. My hands clenched into fists under the table, but Michael squeezed my hand, giving me a look that said, let it go. But then Mom took the microphone from Lily, her eyes glistening with pride, for Lily, not for me. And we need to thank Lily for saving the day. We are so proud of how you stepped up. Anna, you should be grateful to have such a wonderful sister. That was it. I couldn't hold it in any longer. Actually, I started, my voice loud enough to draw every eye in the room to me. I stood, my chair scraping back sharply. I think there's been a misunderstanding. The room went silent, all chatter stopping as everyone waited for what I would say next. Lily didn't plan this, I said, my voice steady, despite the shaking in my legs. 2 weeks before today, I found out nothing was prepared. No flowers, no caterer, not even a cake. If it wasn't for my friend Janet, who is here tonight, this day would have been a disaster. Lily stood up, her chair clattering behind her. That's not true. I did so much for this wedding. Anna, why are you always trying to make me look bad? Why? You wanted this day to fail. I said, turning to face him, then the crowd. I have the emails from the vendors, messages saying they hadn't heard from anyone until I contacted them. Lily's expression faltered, then burst into tears, running from the room. The dramatic exit, another classic move. The rest of the evening was a blur. Some guests whispered and shot me sympathetic looks, while others seemed to buy into Lily's tearful act. It hurt, but at least now, some people knew the truth. As the party wound down, Michael held me close, whispering, "We're married now. That's all that matters." He was right. Despite the drama, we were together, and that was the most important thing. But as we left the venue, I couldn't help but feel the sting of my family's doubts, and Lily's treachery lingering in the air. Just when I thought things couldn't get any worse, they did. My sister Lily disappeared, leaving behind nothing but her car, her purse, and a damning note that pointed the finger straight at me. The note was a masterstroke in her ongoing drama, claiming my supposed cruelty drove her to think about ending her life. The fallout was immediate and brutal. My parents, already cool towards me thanks to Lily's theatrics at the wedding, now turned ice cold. The phone call from my mom about Lily's disappearance is etched into my mind, her voice cold and accusing. "Anna, your sister is gone. She left a note, and she blames you. She said you've been cruel, that you pushed her to this," Mom said, each word like a dagger. "That's ridiculous. I haven't done anything to her. You know how she is, how she twists things," I shot back, my voice shaking with a mix of anger and despair. "Enough, Anna. Your sister is missing, possibly worse, and all you can think about is defending yourself," she snapped before hanging up. The accusations didn't stop there. Relatives, friends, even neighbors seemed to have read the script Lily left behind, all casting me as the villain in her twisted story. But the worst blow came from Grandma, the one person I thought I could always count on. When I went to see her, hoping for some support, she met me with a frosty gaze, her disappointment palpable. "Anna, I can't believe you. Your sister felt so tormented she had to run away. And all you can say is that it's a lie?" Grandma's voice was stern, her usual warm tone gone. "Grandma, please, you know me. I would never hurt Lily," I pleaded, feeling the tears start to well up. Grandma shook her head, her expression hardening. "I thought I knew you. But Lily's note. Anna, she was clearly in a lot of pain. And no truth you wanted to prove is worth her life." "But it's not the truth," I protested, my voice rising in desperation. "I think it's best if you leave. I need to think about all this, about where we all went wrong," she said, turning away from me, signaling the conversation was over. Walking away from Grandma's house that day felt like leaving my last safe haven. Betrayed and isolated, the weight of the entire situation bore down on me, crushing. As the days turned into weeks, with no word from Lily, the strain started to show in every aspect of my life. Michael tried to be supportive, but the constant stress was a wedge between us. "Anna, maybe it's time to just let it go. Maybe stop trying to defend yourself and just move on," Michael suggested one evening, his voice weary. "How can I move on? My own family thinks I'm a monster. How do we just live with that?" I snapped, frustration boiling over. I felt utterly alone, surrounded by people who either believed the worst about me or didn't know how to help. And with Lily gone, the narrative she crafted seemed to solidify into an undeniable truth in the eyes of everyone around me. With each passing day adding weight to the loneliness I felt. Michael, the one person I believed would always be by my side, had grown distant. His frequent business trips to another city only widened the chasm between us. It wasn't just emotional distance, something tangible had shifted, and the receipt I found one afternoon was the grim proof. Stuffed carelessly between the pages of a magazine on our coffee table was a receipt for women's clothing, expensive clothing, the kind you buy when you want to impress someone. The kind you don't buy for your wife and then forget to mention. At first, denial took over. There must be some explanation, a surprise maybe? But the cold, hard doubt crept in, gnawing at me. After everything with Lily and the family, this felt like another bitter betrayal. I needed answers. I hired a private detective. It felt so cliché, like something out of a bad movie, but what other options did I have? I gave him all the details, Michael's travel schedule, the receipt, everything. He called a couple of weeks later. "I have the results of the investigation," he said, his voice neutral. I'll drop off the full report and the photos tomorrow. It's best if you see everything for yourself. The next day, armed with the report and a sealed envelope of photos, I felt like I was on the verge of a breakdown. But there was one thing I needed to do before confronting Michael. I needed to talk to Grandma. Grandma looked frail, her illness having taken a visible toll on her. But when she saw me, there was a flicker of something in her eyes: surprise, confusion, maybe a hint of relief. "Anna, what are you doing here?" she asked, her voice weaker than I remembered. "I needed to see you," I said, stepping inside, feeling the weight of the envelope in my hand. We sat in her living room, the air thick with unsaid words. I handed her the envelope, watching her hands tremble slightly as she opened it and pulled out the photos. I watched her face as she looked at each photo, her expression shifting from confusion to shock to sadness. Then she looked up at me, tears in her eyes. "Oh, Anna. I had no idea," she whispered, the realization dawning on her. "Grandma, I know things have been awful between us. I know you felt I pushed Lily away, but these show a different story," I said, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. She reached out, her hand gripping mine tightly. "I was wrong, Anna. I'm so sorry. Your sister, she deceived me too, not just you." Grandma passed away quietly 2 weeks after our last conversation, and we gathered at her house for her will reading. The air was heavy with the scent of old books and faint floral perfume, a smell that always reminded me of Grandma. I sat there, my hands folded in my lap, steeling myself for what was to come. Then the door swung open dramatically, and there she was, Lily, her red hair just as fiery as I remembered, her smirk as smug as ever. The room erupted. My parents burst into tears, rushing to embrace her, cries of joy mingling with sighs of relief. Everyone was shocked, everyone except me. Lily didn't waste a moment, striding over to Michael with that confident swagger, planting a kiss on his lips like she owned him. The gasps that followed were audible, the shock palpable. She turned to face me, that smirk still playing on her lips. "I planned it all, Anna," she said, her voice loud and clear for everyone to hear. "I made sure Grandma would turn against you, thinking she'd leave everything to me. Pretty clever, huh?" The room froze, all eyes on us. Michael moved to sit next to Lily, their hands finding each other like pieces of a sinister puzzle falling into place. I felt the eyes on me, waiting for a breakdown, a scream, tears, anything. But I was done with the theatrics. I met Lily's gaze with a calm I barely felt. "Are you done?" I asked, my voice even. Her smile faltered, not expecting my composure. The notary cleared his throat, ready to read Grandma's will. You could hear a pin drop as he unfolded the papers, his voice solemn. "I, Eleanor Thompson, being of sound mind and body, hereby bequeath all my property and assets to..." There was a pause, a cruel stretch of silence, before he continued. "Anna Grant." Lily's face, Michael's face, it was a picture. The shock, the disbelief, the betrayal. It was all there, raw and unfiltered. Michael looked at me, then at Lily, his expression one of a man defeated. "I knew about everything," I said, my voice carrying across the room. "I knew you were hiding in the city Michael frequently visited for his business trips. I knew about the affair." I pulled out the photos and evidence the detective had gathered and tossed them on the table. The room erupted into chaos, voices raised in shock, anger, disbelief. My parents, still clinging to their golden child, looked at me with eyes full of questions and accusations. Lily and Michael started blubbering, apologies and excuses spilling out. "Anna, please, we didn't mean..." "Save it," I cut them off, my heart hardening against their fake pleas. "I'm filing for divorce, and I want compensation for the betrayal." My statement was met with stunned silence, then more whispers. Lily tried to reach out, tears streaming down her face, but I was done. "You made your choice," I told her coldly. After the meeting, as the room cleared, I stayed back, letting the reality of everything wash over me. The money, the property, it meant nothing compared to the betrayal. I signed the necessary papers, my signature steady, my resolve clear. Life moved on. I settled the divorce, received the compensation, and started rebuilding my life, piece by piece. It was hard, harder than anything I'd ever done. But for the first time in a long time, I felt like I was in control of my own story.